Maybe.
Because he planted in the May. Late May.
I don't think I've seen that report passed since then.
That's not a good thing. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Leak, and I chair the City County Planning Board. I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 13th meeting. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Today's meeting is being broadcast live on TV 13 and will be rebroadcast at 10 a.m. Friday morning and again at 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Our first order of business today will be the consent agenda. These are items for which the petitioner is requesting withdrawal or continuance, or items for which staff has recommended approval and no one has signed up to speak in opposition. For public hearings today, each side will have a total of 12 minutes. There will be no rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed and the board goes into work session, no one is permitted to speak unless a planning board member asks them a question. For general use district zoning requests, the planning board must consider the full range of uses allowed in the zoning district being requested. The petitioner may not refer to a specific use for the property. For special use district zoning requests, however, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. Items under Section B of the agenda will require final action by the appropriate elected body, either the city council or county commissioners. As such, votes taken today by the planning board concerning these items are recommendations that will be considered by the elected bodies during their review of the request. Before addressing the planning board today, if you do, we would need your name, address, and zip code for the record. Our first item of business are the approval of the minutes of the May 9th and May 23rd meetings. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. I'm now going to call on Mr. Brian Wilson to review the consent agenda for today.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board for the June 13th meeting. Our first items today are items B3 and B8. That's case W3622 and text amendment UDO-CC 27. Those have both been automatically continued to your July 11th, 2024 hearing. Next item on the agenda is B1. That's case W3619. Petitioner is Broderick Williams, requesting to rezone an RS9 zone property to RSQL. It's a 1.45 acre site located at the northeast intersection of Old Greensboro Road and Cruz Street. As you can see on the location map, it is at the corner of an existing established single-family neighborhood. It's just south of a park and Atkins High School, further to the northeast. Across the street, there is LB zone property just to the south. Old Greensboro Road is a minor thoroughfare. You see in the aerial, the property is heavily wooded and undeveloped. There are a number of existing lots on the site, but they are undeveloped within the parcel. And this is the area plan, the East-Northeast Winston-Salem area plan land use recommendation map. It does recommend single-family residential at a density of 0 to 8 dwelling units per acre. RSQ it generally is considered to have the same density recommendation as a single family, as the RS9 district, and therefore this is compatible from a density perspective. This is really just a matter of whether twin homes or duplexes are appropriate, which, given the location of the site at a corner lot across from a commercial area, this would be fitting with both the general recommendations of the area plan and Legacy 2030. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the motion of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3619.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next item is B2, that's case W3620. The petitioner is CC Winston-Salem LLC, requesting to rezone a split zone property from HB and RS9 to HBL. It's a 7.99 acre site located on the eastern side of North Patterson Avenue between Motor Road and Germantown Road. As you can see on the location map, the property is bounded by general use highway business on the north and the west, and also has GI, general industrial land uses to the south. And then to the east, there are some single-family residential neighborhoods. As you can see in this aerial, the property is largely undeveloped in and of itself. Their entire corridor has a wide array of commercial and higher intensity commercial and industrial land uses occurring throughout that corridor there. And this is the North Suburban Area Plan Land Use Recommendation Map. It does recommend commercial land uses on the site. The request is consistent with both the area plan recommendation and Legacy 2030 to concentrate commercial and industrial activity in appropriate areas. The petitioner has volunteered to remove the uses golf course, cemetery, and funeral home. That was their request. They're retaining all the other highway business uses, but again, that is consistent with the area plan and Legacy 2030 recommendations. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this request. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3620.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That also is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, moving on, we'll go to item B3. That's case W3621. Petitioner is Glencoe Investment Properties, LLC, requesting to rezone an RS9 zone property to RM5. This is a 5.15 acre site located at the northeast side of Cole Road, north of US 311 and south of Interstate 40. As you can see in the location map, the property is surrounded by single-family zoning immediately surrounding the property. However, there are multifamily apartments to the west. And you may recall this rezoning further to the southeast, the RM18S, that was rezoned, I believe, Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, either last year or the year prior for townhomes and multifamily apartments. And this is the area. You can see the property is currently undeveloped and heavily wooded. Directly adjacent to the properties, there are some existing single-family homes. You can see the already constructed apartments here to the west. And this property has yet to come online for the development that was approved in the recent past. And this is the area plan recommendation. This is the southeast suburban area plan. And again, during that original rezoning for the RM18S, it was found that this is, in fact, not the most suitable area for industrial development due to the existing topography. It has a severe amount of grade and stream features, and so that's why it felt appropriate at that time to recommend the RM18 zoning. This property recommends single-family residential at a density of 0 to 8 dwelling units per acre. Again, that's generally consistent from a density perspective for the proposed district of RM5. Staff found that this is a good transitional use. It's an appropriate location. It's located on a minor thoroughfare. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of this request as it meets the general recommendations of the area plan and Legacy 2030. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right. No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the planning board find the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3621.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous as well.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we'll now skip over to item B5. That's case W3623. Petitioner is Branch Building 500 LLC and Goldwater Holdings LLC. The site plan was called Fifth Street Townhomes and Retail Space. Requesting to rezone two different parcels, differently zoned RS7 and LOS to PBS, that's pedestrian business special use. It's a 1.16 acre site located on the east side of North Laurelwall Boulevard between East 4th Street and East 5th Street. You can see on the location map here, there are quite a number of, wide array of different zoning districts here. So you have pedestrian business special use across the street. This is the shopping center, HB, within the Martin Luther King Overlay District. You have multifamily uses and some other commercial businesses here to the south, zoning to the south, not necessarily businesses. And then it does transition back into single-family neighborhood further on to the south here. And this is the aerial. You can see the existing office building here. And the property that's included in the rezoning, that is a vacant parcel here. And this is the east-northeast Winston-Salem area plan, and it does recommend office uses in recognition of the existing land use at the time of plan adoption. It is, you'll note that is also within the activity center, the East Winston Activity Center. And I do want to mention, while the east-northeast Winston-Salem area plan update did propose, recommend office uses for the property in recognition of that current land use, the plan generally recommends mixed-use infill development in the East Winston Activity Center. Moreover, the East End Master Plan recommends a mixture of commercial and single-family uses on the site. Plan was adopted in 2018. You can see highlighted here, the northern side was meant to be a enterprise zone, so a commercial enterprise zone that would contain neighborhood serving businesses, and then a retention of any single family homes that were already constructed on the south, and let that taper into the existing single family home and allow for more infill development there. This is the proposed site plan. You can see they're proposing to retain the existing office building. This was formerly used as a bank. They are also requesting to enclose that canopy area there. They're going to maintain the existing drive ingress and egress on 5th Street and Laurelwall Boulevard here, but they will be closing up the drive entrance here. They're effectively going to be flipping the existing parking that's here today with the townhomes. So it'll act more as a urban neighborhood with street frontage with the pedestrian connection to the sidewalks there. Just a reminder, staff does recommend a condition of approval to limit the commercial land uses to the northern section of the property. So I think it's effectively everything north of where the back of the dumpster enclosure is. And here are the proposed elevations. The site plan does meet EDO requirements, and staff does recommend approval based on the general recommendations of the area plan and the East End Master Plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions?
Just one. How would we specifically define the northern section?
You can,
I was gonna say, I believe it's in the packet and the permit as a condition. I think it references that the commercial uses shall be 180 feet, 160 feet, some measurement from the northern property line along 5th Street.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor sign aye.
Aye.
Pose the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3623.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All in favor sign of aye.
Aye.
Pose the same sign. That is also unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, our next item is item B6. That's case W3624. The petitioner is Moravian Church America, Southern Province, requesting to rezone an RS30 zone property to institutional public. It's a 7.33 acre site located on the north side of Old Hollow Road between Sand Hill Drive and Providence Church Road. You can see in the location map, this is located in a relatively rural area. It is surrounded by RS20, RS30, and RS40 zoning. It's generally low-density, detached, single-family neighborhoods. And here's the aerial. You can see the existing church campus with some accessory buildings here in the parking area. This is the cemetery right here. And you can see the existing single-family neighborhood surrounding the property. And while this is in Growth Management Area 3, it is within the Northeast Rural Area Study, and therefore there is no parcel-specific land use recommendation for this site. There is a general recommendation within that rural area study to retain historic buildings, including residential homes, agricultural buildings, and institutional structures. This does meet the general recommendations of that study, as well as Legacy 2030 to locate and retain institutional uses at appropriate locations within neighborhoods. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of this request, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
A question. Were you given any information about what the institutional zoning is going to provide that's not available now?
I would probably defer to the petitioner, and I'm not sure if they are here. My understanding, again, taking this as that they may or may not do this, is that they would like to essentially subdivide the cemetery as its own primary use, which is not allowed in the RS30 zoning district. So the IP zoning district would allow them to have the cemetery and continue to maintain the cemetery, and then have the church campus be utilized for other institutional uses, i.e. another church.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Did that sufficiently answer your question? Okay, because I
It's
think
just
the
an interest,
petition.
not a real zoning issue.
Okay. Any additional questions for staff? No one is signed. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that the planning board recommend approval of W 3624.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we'll move on to item B7. That's case F1641. Petitioner is Renaissance Childcare Incorporated, requesting to rezone an LO-L zone property to GOL. It's a 1.91 acre site located at approximately, it's very close to the southeast intersection of Stires Ferry Road and Kenny Road. So it went over from that intersection there. As you can see, on the location map, this is right above a pretty large activity center there at the interchange. I believe that's an activity center. I apologize. It's a commercial center, and is further west of a single-family neighborhood. And the site is already developed, an existing daycare. You can see the interchange there, and the single-family homes further to the east. And the West Suburban Area Plan does recommend institutional land uses in recognition of the existing daycare use. Again, the purpose of this request was simply to add the use childcare drop-in, which was not allowed in the LO district. So it's only allowed in the GO district, but is generally seen as a compatible institutional land use. So again, that's the purpose of this request today. It meets the general recommendations of the area plan and legacy, so staff does recommend approval of this request, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? No one has signed up. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? All right. Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of F 1641.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous as well.
I thought they were going to trick me.
All right, Mr. Chairman, our last item on the consent agenda for tonight is C1, and I'm not sure, you should have that correct in your orders, but it should be subdivision number 2003092.
9-2.
Excuse me, that's
2003.
Let me double check that. It's 2003042. So we had some issues with how this was recorded. This is a request to withdraw a preliminary subdivision approved in 2003. You can see it's a 24.23 acre site. This is the original preliminary plat. Actually, I think this is a staff change of that preliminary plat. You can see that it was approximately, it was exactly 36 single-family homes proposed. They had these eyebrow turnarounds, and you can see that they were prohibited from crossing the stream here due to the topography, and they were unable to provide any sort of three-street connection here due to the small width there. And again, another stream crossing with the grade crossing. The short answer here is that they were very constrained in 2003 due to grade, topography, and on-site environmental features, and the requirements have only gotten more intensive over time. So they took another look at the numbers and decided to withdraw this. They'll come back and more than likely than not request an administrative approval of a minor subdivision here with no public streets. And again, that's 2003-042. Apologies for the double whammy there on the typo.
Any questions? What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board approve the withdrawal of 2003042.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Grubbs. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. That is unanimous. All right, we will now go into our staff report. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Scipio, who came to join us. Good to see you.
Hello.
Mr. Chairman and board, we do just have a couple items on our staff report. I'll first turn to Amy, who'll give you a preview of your June work session.
Okay, we have 3 items for June. The first will be Erica Palmer, who is our project planner who handles public art. We'll be presenting the Public Art Commission's annual report. We'll also have a briefing on UDO CC 27, which was the ordinance for the Board of Adjustment changes, as well as adding the change concerning Stormwater Review Board. We'll have another briefing on that. And then I will give an update on Ford 2045 and where we're at in the last final stages of that plan. So.
Thank you, Amy. Next, I'll turn to Mark, who'll give you your preview of your July zoning caseload.
Yeah, so what you see is we've had a small agenda coming up, 4 total items. We got 1 continued rezoning case, 1 site plan amendment, the continued text amendment, 1 planning board review.
And I will call your attention to the screen, and that is there is a mural that is in the process of going through installation, honoring the five Royales on the wall there at Fiddle and Fish. So again, there will be, I believe there'll be an unveiling of that sometime later this month or sometime in July. But anyway, we did want to call your attention to that, as again, public art continues to be important for the City of Arts and Innovation. So, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll turn it back over to you. I have no further
You
staff
may not
report
know the
items.
answer to this, but was this a local artist who's doing this, or was it commissioned out?
Well, we have to go through a process. I cannot remember ultimately who ended up getting the contract, but the contract was difficult because of some there's some copyright issues with the original photo, and we could, for the longest time, no one could locate the person who the photo that this is based off of to get release of the copyright. We finally got that resolved. I can't remember the artist. I'm not sure if it's local or not.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
We'll have our motion to adjourn.
Second?
Not quite as quick.